Hello and welcome back to my studio. Well, I wonder if we'll look back on this time and have a good laugh about it. I really doubt that very much, but we just get on with it. And one of the things I've been doing for you is putting some more videos together. I'm going to have a lot more videos coming up in the forthcoming week and some nice long demonstrations as well. Well, today I'm doing something a little different. Well, it's a gouache painting, but a totally different subject for me. And in this subject I have decided to paint a bunch of cloth dolls. I saw these in a shop. My wife and I were visiting a little town in the Western Cape, and this was just a display and these cloth dolls were put all over a chair. I took a photo of it because I just found the whole composition quite interesting, and that was a few years ago. And looking through the photos, I thought, yeah, that is actually a good subject for gouache. It's more like an illustration in this case, but taking it a little further. But you can see the potential that gouache has for illustration. I must say I found it quite a challenge doing this. It was something different, as I say, from my landscapes or seascapes. Even as a figure study or portrait wasn't that either. It was just different. And it was a bit of a struggle in the middle parts. I did have to push on. I was thinking maybe I'll just abandon this and look at it another day, as in never. But I saw it through, and in the end, I enjoyed it. Drawing is important for a painting like this. So take some time and get the drawing as accurate as you can. I'm getting into some yellow ochre and white, and a little touch of blue as well to cool it down. And I'm going to block in the main shapes of the dolls, although fairly similar, sort of beige ochre color. So the challenge is to make them look a bit more interesting and different. Yeah, I'm just using a little bit of the cool down yellow ochre to help get some three-dimensional form to the shapes. So you'll try these colors out. If they're working for you, carry on. If not, change them up. Here I'm mixing a little bit of violet. I like the idea of using violet in this painting because it's going to be a complement to the yellow, sort of warm yellowish colors, and that will help to add a bit of sparkle, a little bit of life to the painting. But also adjusting. I think this is perhaps just a little too hard, bringing a bit more lighter value colors, and then some sort of highlights. And I'll assess this as I go through it. But at this stage I'm really experimenting. This part is not too difficult. I'm using my little finger to steady my hand there as I draw in the ribbon shape. Just using a bit of burnt sienna and ultramarine blue for this black color. Quite a strong shape this, and it's quite flat as well, so I'll definitely will have to work on that a bit. Using purples and violets for the shadows. You'll notice the chair behind the dolls is also a similar color to the dolls, so I'm going to go down the road of using violets and purples in the background. So continuing to block in here and there, fill in a bit of negative space as well with the purples. those little details. With the gouache you can paint very fine lines quite easily. Just steady your hand a bit and use the right sort of brush. In an illustration like this or similar type of detail painting, gouache does help to give you very strong detailed shapes. Now I've decided to bring in some red for these ribbons. Add a bit of sparkle, a bit of dash of bright color, I think, to liven things up. So feel free to make those changes if you feel the colors or there's a lack of color and you want to add something else. Just go for it, try it out. And another one over here. There'll be a few red colors in the background as well, just to echo the reds, so it will all balance out. Using a light violet for the chair material instead of the beige. And I think it works. This light pink in the dress. It's also a nice dash of color. This could, of course, be an illustration in a children's book, so that's something to keep in mind, that gouache is versatile. It is also an illustrator's medium of choice. If you're not using digital media, of course, you can use gouache and get very accurate and detailed paintings. I think on this dress, with hindsight, it should have been just left a bit flatter, but I've tried to get the shapes and the wrinkles and in the fabric, but not particularly necessary in a painting like this. And keep working the painting. One area, if you get stuck on a certain point or part of the subject you're not too sure about, move on to something else. You'll probably solve the problem and be able to tackle it a little bit later in the process. The flowers in the chair are quite involved in the reference, so I'm using them as inspiration and making my own simplified version. All these little strong dark lines and shapes bring this whole illustration into sharp focus, and that is why doing outlines in this type of subject is important. Normally in a fine art situation I'm not doing strong outlines, but this subject lends itself to that. Although these details are fairly refined, the shapes are quite small, I'm still putting a lot of pigment on the brush. And this helps me to continue painting and finishing a shape so I don't run out of paint. As you can see, quite a lot of paint on the brush. And I think a stronger pink give a real kick of color, some energy. It is meant to be a fun little painting, so push the color. Now to finish things off, I've got to get some of the details in place, bringing a bit of purple into these dark colors as well. Little sort of refined lines, broken line, kind of suggesting the stitching as well. Adding a bit of burst of subtle color there. A few last marks and I think I'll call it done. So in the end I was happy with the result, although it was quite a challenge and something completely different for me. But I know that gouache is really nice and versatile, and the painting was okay. Well, I hope you enjoyed that little demonstration and maybe got some inspiration to paint a few different kinds of subjects, just to stretch the imagination a bit, but also to see what you can learn from the experience. So just try something different occasionally and you'll maybe be surprised with the results. Well, if you haven't yet, please subscribe to the channel. As I say, there is more good stuff coming and some nice long and interesting demonstrations in the next week or so as well. And if there's anything you would like to see, any subject you may like to see me tackle or ask any questions about your painting, go right ahead, put that in the comments, and I will see you in the next video coming very soon. Cheers for now.